Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen signaling that more government rescues could be on the way. Watch this.
The public should have confidence in our banking system, and it's our intention to remain vigilant in the days and weeks to come. That means potentially intervening if a smaller bank experiences the kinds of difficulties we have seen that pose the risk of contagion.
Joining us now to react to that, ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee, Republican Idaho Senator Mike Crapo. Great to have you with us today, Senator. Your reaction to what Janet Yellen is saying. I mean, part of me thinks her heart is certainly in the right place, but if this crisis extends in the days and weeks, as she suggests that it could, that she's biting off more than she can chew.
Well, you make a very good point. I think the Fed has done the correct things now, and Treasury as well, for a short-term limited support for those banks that are in trouble. But if this gets more broadly serious, I think that they have to look very carefully at the notion that some are batting around, that they make permanent federal guarantees of all the deposits of banks. That's going to create moral hazard that I think in the long run is simply going to transfer responsibility for proper bank management to the taxpayer. The taxpayer will be on the hook, and it will not actually improve the management of banks.
Talk to me about moral hazard. I'm glad that you brought that up. How do you prevent that from happening? Should we be looking at bills to hold some of these CEOs more accountable, or is the better alternative to just not do some of the massive insured deposits for everyone?
Well, I think, first of all, moral hazard is what occurs when the banks don't do the right job of managing their assets versus their liabilities. In the current situation with SVB, for example, they were very well capitalized, but they did not manage their interest rate risk. The risk that came when inflation spiked, and then that was followed by interest rate spikes. That is what the banks must be doing, and the responsibility here has to be on the bank management and on the supervisors, the Fed and the FDIC, who are the ones who follow the way the banks are managing that moral hazard. We need to have that be the approach where we focus, rather than having a government guarantee in place that says you can just manage any way you want. And if you get into a situation where you are incurring significant losses and can't meet the demands of your assets, then the taxpayer will pay the bill.
Senator, I want to get your take on this. You recently threw your support behind a bill to stop foreign adversaries from buying American farmland. This seems like an issue that is really not given enough attention. And the risks here, especially when you're talking about China, seem enormous. What are the risks, and what would this bill do to help protect America?
Well, first of all, in 2018, I led, as the Banking Committee Chairman, I led the effort to reform a law in America called CFIUS. That's the Committee on Foreign Investments in the United States. It was focused primarily on technology and very advanced technologies that we needed to protect against, frankly, being stolen by China and other foreign adversaries. I feel that those reforms actually put into place the necessary protections to help us protect against these buys of agriculture in the United States, which are a significant issue. But I co-sponsored the current legislation, which has been passed in some form by 14 different states, because I want to make it really clear that the United States can manage the accumulation of our farmland by foreign adversaries.
Senator, a little bit of a curveball here, if you don't mind. You mentioned CFIUS. Do we have any idea how the CFIUS review on TikTok is going, or when we would expect to get an update?
You know, I do not have any update on that. That's something that's going on by the Committee on Foreign Investments in the United States and others. And this is a committee of different regulators in the United States. But we have not been given a readout on exactly what their approach to it is. It's a very good question,
Senator, does that trouble you that it's taken so long? I mean, we've been talking about that issue for years. We've known the risks, I think, for years, and yet it seems like there's a lot of foot dragging going on there. Does that concern you?
Yes, it does concern me, and there is, I think, some foot dragging. There's also a lot of attention to it in Congress because there are bills, as I'm sure you are aware, to deal with this. And the question is whether TikTok is named specifically, which is not a common thing to happen in legislation, or whether we deal with the dynamic and describe whether it's TikTok or any other entity, the kinds of things that we need to more carefully supervise and monitor.
Senator Mike Crapo, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.